In the early 19th century, the wizarding world faced a peculiar but persistent problem: transportation for the underage or the infirm. While apparition was the method of choice for adult wizards, it was difficult, dangerous, and required a license. The Flu network was excellent, but not every wizard had their fireplace connected. Brooms were practical, but uncomfortable for long distances, and offered little protection from the elements or prying muggle eyes. This left a significant portion of the magical community in a bind. What was a young witch who had missed the Hogwarts Express to do? Or an elderly wizard who needed to visit St. Mungo's but was too frail to apparate? The Ministry of Magic was inundated with reports of magical accidents caused by desperate, unconventional, and often disastrous attempts at travel. The minister for magic at the time, a portly and perpetually worried wizard named Dougal MacPhail, was at his wit's end. After a particularly embarrassing incident involving a runaway herd of enchanted armchairs that had stampeded through a Muggle village, he declared in a fit of frustration, "We need a public transport system, something that is safe, discreet, and available to all." The idea was met with skepticism. How could one create a vehicle that could navigate the Muggle world without being seen, and could travel vast distances in an instant? The problem was presented to the Department of Magical Transportation, where a young, brilliant, and slightly eccentric inventor named Irene Riddle had an idea. An idea inspired not by magic, but by the new, lumbering, double-decker buses that were just beginning to appear on the streets of Muggle London. What if, she proposed, we took their idea and made it magical? Asterisk, asterisk, Irene's vision was audacious. She imagined a vehicle that looked, to the casual Muggle eye, like a normal bus, but was imbued with powerful magic. It would be a triple-decker, for maximum capacity, painted a distinctive, memorable color, a deep royal purple. It would have no fixed route and no schedule. It would be a bus for the stranded, a sanctuary en sus. The most revolutionary part of her idea was the summoning method. A witch or wizard in need would simply have to stand at the curb and stick out their wand hand, a universal signal of a wizard in distress. The bus, using a highly advanced summoning charm woven into its very chassis, would sense the call and appear with a deafening bang right beside them. The interior was designed for comfort, not elegance. Instead of seats, the floors were lined with an assortment of brass bedsteads, allowing weary travelers to sleep through their journey. An enchanted chandelier swung precariously from the ceiling, and a small bar served a restorative hot chocolate. The magic of the bus was chaotic and powerful. It did not drive in the conventional sense. It jumped. With another terrifying bang, it could leap hundreds of miles in an instant, appearing in a new street, a new town, a new county. To Muggles, it was nothing more than a sudden gust of wind or a trick of the light. To the passengers, it was a wild, lurching, and utterly thrilling ride. Objects, beds, and sometimes even people would slide from one end of the bus to the other as it screeched to a halt or took a corner at an impossible angle. It was named the Night Bus, a play on night, bus, and a nod to its role as a rescuer, a knight in shining armor for the magically stranded. Let us travel forward in time to a dark, quiet street in Little Whinging, Surrey. A 13-year-old Harry Potter had just stormed out of his relative's house after a magical accident. his trunk dragged behind him, his heart pounding with fear and defiance. He was alone, a fugitive with nowhere to go. As he sat on the curb in the dark, a wave of pure panic washed over him. He was stranded. In his fear, he tripped, his wand hand flying out to break his fall. And in that instant, a blinding light and a deafening bang erupted in the quiet suburban street. A colossal, purple triple-decker bus had appeared from thin air, screeching to a halt just inches from him. The doors hissed open, and a pimply, lanky conductor in a purple uniform peered out. "Welcome to the night bus," he said in a bored tone. "Emergency transport for the stranded witch or wizard. My name is Stan Shunpike, and I will be your conductor this evening." Harry, dumbfounded, could only stare. Inside, he saw the brass bedsteads, the swinging chandelier, and a wizened old wizard at the wheel, Ernie Prang. He had completely by accident summoned his salvation. ****. The journey on the night bus was unlike anything Harry had ever experienced. The moment he was aboard, Ernie Prang slammed his foot on the accelerator. With another earth-shattering bang, the quiet street of Little Winning vanished, and they were careening down a completely different road, the bus leaning at a 45-degree angle. Houses, trees, and post boxes leaped out of their way, shrinking, back to allow the magical behemoth to pass. The bed slid violently across the floor, and Harry was thrown into his own. Stan Shunpike, seemingly unaffected by the chaos, simply chatted on, pointing out the various destinations they were jumping to. The bus was a microcosm of the wizarding world. An old witch with a long pipe was dozing on a bed in the back. A nervous-looking man was clutching a suspiciously wriggling package. Stan offered Harry a cup of hot chocolate, which slopped over the sides with every lurch and jump. He learned that the bus could travel anywhere on land, as long as it wasn't over water. He learned of its flat fee of 11 sickles, with an extra, 2 for hot chocolate. It was a chaotic, dizzying, and utterly magical experience. It was the wizarding world in its most raw, practical, and wonderfully eccentric form. It was not the grand, ancient magic of Hogwarts, but a rough, modern, and incredibly useful spell on wheels. Asterisk, asterisk, as the bus made its final, jarring leap and screech to a halt outside the leaky cauldron, Harry stepped out into the familiar magic of Diagon Alley, his head still spinning. He had been lost, alone, and terrified. And in his moment of need, a purple, 3-storied, chaotic bus had appeared and brought him home. The night bus was more than just a mode of transport. It was a promise that no matter how lost or stranded a witch or wizard might feel, they were never truly alone. They were part of a world that, in its own strange, bumpy, and often chaotic way, would always look after its own. All they had to do was stick out their wand hand, and help would come with a bang. And so, the purple bus continues its frantic, magical journey through the night, a chaotic sanctuary for the stranded and the lost. Its story is a wonderful reminder that magic is not always elegant or grand. Sometimes it is loud, bumpy, and comes with a cup of hot chocolate. It teaches us that even in our most desperate moments, when we feel completely lost in the darkness, help will always be given to those who ask for it. Sometimes, all you have to do is stick out your wand hand. Rest now, and may you always find a safe way home. Until our next story, my friend.